And I think we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. How is it going? I'm going to do the usual sanity checks to make sure that looks like the stream is up and running. Glad to see that folks are with us already. I'm always happy to spend some time time during lunch with you guys out there. We are still locked down for COVID-19. I wonder if I actually named this correctly. Oh my goodness, look at that. I gave this the wrong number. This is episode 35. I've been doing this for 7 weeks. Every day for lunch, getting on the live stream, getting on YouTube to spend a little bit of time talking with you guys. I'm always excited to see who's in the live stream. Always happy to chat with you guys. And I'm going to keep on doing it as long as we are still all locked down. Now today, again, it's breakfast for lunch. So I decided to have some waffles. Now these are not Eggo waffles, in fact. These are great value Walmart store brand waffles, which, as far as I can tell, are pretty much indistinguishable from Eggo waffles, except that they cost like half as much. And they taste excellent. Oh my gosh. I must be a little dehydrated because going into this, I am already thirsty. So, probably going to be sipping on that milk quite a bit. I have some nice toppings for these waffles. Made myself some macerated strawberry syrup. I think those are going to go great on some of these waffles. So while I'm having lunch, I'd love to check in with you guys, see how you guys are handling the COVID-19 lockdown. I know that it's different all around the world, and even in different states in America. I know that Texas seems to be opening up a little bit. California is still pretty locked down. I think California seems to take this stuff pretty seriously. But, you know, Texas, they're all gung-ho. They're going to make their own country. Freedom. Rah, rah. Yeah! So, they're going to open up. I don't know what kind of timeline we're looking at in Washington State. The latest I've heard is that everything's still going to be locked down by May 31st or May 30th? May 31st? I don't know. End of May. However many days there are in May. So, I think there's 31 days in May. Glad to see we got a couple of folks in the chat. Manic Tricks Woods, you say, yo, Steve. I'm learning C++ and wonder what library should I start off learning. I mean, C++ is a language, not a library. So, you should just start learning C++ if you're going to learn it, man. I guess if you wanted some tips and pointers, the standard template library seems to be pretty standard, seems to be used basically everywhere. So if you wanted something, if you've gotten past the basics, I'd go with the STL, start learning that. Eric Gunnarsson says, good evening, USA, European time. Yeah, I think the latest it is in America right now is 4 p.m., I think it's 4:29 or 4:19 Eastern Standard Time right now. I think I've got my hour. No, I think that's 1 hour too late. So 3:19 Eastern Standard Time. That sounds a little bit better. Manic Tricks Woods also says, thanks for always answering my coding and eating questions. Yeah, of course, man. You say that Corona made you fail calculus. Yeah, you blame Corona, not yourself. Yeah, trying to learn things remotely it's a real drag. I know that a lot of families, a lot of folks that I know have kids who are, you know, at home instead of going to school, and it just sounds really awful for those guys. I don't have anything to cut these waffles with, so I'm just going to eat them all whole like this. Make a big old mess for myself. So we got Kyle V Food and MJC both in the chat saying, hey, good to see you guys. Glad you guys are surviving. Now, yesterday I wanted to talk way more about that stuff that I was talking about yesterday, but of course, like fitness and exercise and training and everything like that is this giant subject. So I think there's no way that I could have talked about everything then. Yesterday was basically talking about like running and doing interval training and stuff like that. So I didn't want to leave everyone with the impression that like cardio is the only thing that I do. Because I am certainly first and foremost a long distance runner and endurance guy. I mean, I think that's about the only way that I could eat all these carbs day after day after day and just not get diabetes. But one thing that I do know about runners, hanging out with different kinds of athletes, is I think that runners are just like the least versatile athletes out there. I mean, maybe cyclists tend to stick with just their one sport a little bit more, but it seems like runners, by and large, they run and like that's all that they do. And they just complain that like, oh, they don't have enough time to pick up anything else, don't have enough time to do core work or lift weights or anything like that. And it's like, I know that most of the people out there, most of the runners out there, I should say, if they did have more time, they would just spend that extra time running. So I'd kind of call them out on that. However, I am first and foremost a runner, but more than anything else, I do want to make sure that I'm a versatile athlete, make sure that I've got lots of functional fitness. So I thought it'd be cool to talk a little bit about the different kinds of like strength and power stuff that I do personally, and a couple of my opinions on how to become a stronger and more versatile athlete. So you're not just all cardio all the time. You end up looking like, Eliud Kipchoge, who awesome athlete, but the dude doesn't look very healthy. Like he just looks like this emaciated little skeleton, Mm. Of course, I guess in that part of the world where he comes from, East Africa, like long distance running is about as popular as, football is in America. Like it's the big thing that they do over there. So when it does come to running, like, I guess I should start by saying that for running, most of the time you're in like this aerobic zone, mainly burning lots of sugar aerobically and lots of fat aerobically, and maybe a little bit of sugar anaerobically. But you're really not tapping into that really high power metabolic energy pathway that's called your creatine phosphate energy pathway. I mentioned it before. So when I think of strength in particular, it's creatine phosphate all the way. And it is good to understand the distinction between strength and power, where when you're talking about power, that's pushing a certain amount of force over I can't remember if it's a duration of time or if it's a distance that you're pushing it. I believe it's a distance that you're pushing it. So with power, you're talking more about using a lot of strength, but continually using that strength to push for a long period of time. Whereas strength is specifically about the maximum amount of force that you can generate with your muscles at any one instant. Well, it's kind of good to make that distinction. So when you're thinking of, like I was mentioning the other day, about 100-meter sprints, where Usain Bolt is using his creatine phosphate energy pathway, that would definitely be a high power, but not particularly a high strength movement. Likewise, with cyclists, when they're riding up a hill, that's again a high power movement where they're like pushing on their pedals really hard, but they're sustaining that pressure over a long period of time. So oftentimes, power is actually like the unit that cyclists like to talk about as the way that as how effective they are at being cyclists. Basically, runners like to talk about their heart rate or the speed that they're running. Cyclists tend to talk more about the power because their speed is so dependent on the terrain and the how should I say, the grade that they're riding up or down. So it is kind of funny that, like, when it comes to cycling, you know, if I'm out on a long bike ride, my average speed might only be like 14 or 15 miles an hour, just because there are a ton of hills around my area. And that doesn't mean that I'm riding super easy. That just means that I'm riding up hills and going really, really slow. So I'm giving a lot of effort. And that's why looking at power, which is basically like how hard you're pressing on your pedals, is a better determinant of how much effort you're giving cycling than just pure speed. Oh my gosh, these things are so friggin' good. And of course, you can't have waffles without just a ton of syrup. Ah. That's actually a little gross. I don't know if I want to drink syrup. Especially this kind of artificially flavored pancake syrup. Maple syrup, I think I would drink a little bit of maple syrup. So anyway, back to it. So the kinds of things that I like to do to improve my power and strength are like, I really like powerlifting, you know, even as a runner. And even though powerlifting does prevent me from recovering as quickly from some of the harder run workouts that I do, especially deadlifts. Like deadlifting, you do these multi-joint movements like deadlifting, which involves basically your entire body. And for folks that don't know, a deadlift, it's basically like if you had a weight on the ground, you just pick it up, lift it up, put it back down. That's what a deadlift is. It's very, very simple. But it's also very effective for like building overall body strength, stuff like that. One of my favorite power lifts to do. And if you're doing deadlifting, once a week, once or twice a week, like you're going to get stronger, you're going to get bigger, and you're going to have a giant appetite. And people who are able to deadlift, 2.5, 3 times their body weight, like it's just absolutely incredible. So you can usually work up to that kind of strength, and that's definitely a strength move when you're deadlifting. Most people are trying to just lift as much weight as they possibly can for only a couple of reps. Oh, pardon me. So that's a really great move. I don't know how applicable it is to a lot of usual everyday movements, and it's something that, of course, I don't get to do a whole lot since I'm locked down in quarantine. I don't have my own set of weights. And it does seem like exercise equipment is kind of going for a premium right now. It's really hard to find it. So while we're in lockdown, like I'm basically relegated to mostly doing body weight exercises. Those things like, if I can find something to jump up on, like a bench, I'll do a couple of box jumps, doing burpees, doing push-ups, doing pull-ups, those kinds of things. Yeah, when I saw that the lockdown was most likely going to happen, I went out and bought a pull-up bar immediately because I knew that I could take care of most of my body, but I would need something to help me out with my back strength. So the pull-up bar has really been helping me out a lot with that. I've been able to work up to where I can do maybe like 20 or 30 pull-ups in a single set. And not full extension, maybe down about, 120 degrees up over my chin, stuff like that. So yeah, powerlifting, it's great. It's a lot of fun, but I'm more concerned with I'm more concerned with power, which ironically, powerlifting is more focused on strength than it is about power. So I do these bodyweight movements. And of course, like the most functional thing I could possibly do to do all these bodyweight exercises with a giant weighted vest. we go. So I got one of these weighted vests. Makes push-ups, makes pull-ups way, way harder. It's just packed with these iron ingots. This is a pretty high-quality vest. I especially like that it uses the solid ingots instead of the sandbags for weight. It's 45 pounds, I believe. It's 20 kilograms, which is 44 pounds. There we go. And I can only do like 4 or 5 pull-ups while I'm wearing that thing, so that's definitely trying to push the limit on my strength. Looks like we already got a couple of other folks in the chat. Frederic is back with a bicep. Yeah, strength and power. Eric Gunnarsson says the Swedish society is pretty open in the Corona times. Yeah, I think Sweden's kind of pushing the way, like pushing the limits of making sure everybody's as free as they want to be. Yeah, there's a lot of like talk and in America about the way Sweden is handling this and saying like, well, they're just going for herd immunity immediately. So we'll see how it works for you guys. I hope it's all working out okay. I think if we did that in America, the hospitals might be swamped and overwhelmed. But I think that's mainly because a lot of Americans have a lot of secondary conditions. So probably have, you know, a higher percentage of people who are in serious trouble if they get coronavirus in America. My impression is that people in that part of the world, in like Sweden and Norway, might be a little bit healthier overall than Americans. Oh my goodness. Who else do we have? Tuna Shogun showing up. How's it going, man? JP, welcome to the chat. It says, you think someone just broke the deadlift record? Yeah, I saw that. Maybe a year or two ago, Eddie Hall had done a 500 kilogram deadlift, and somebody just recently did a 501 kilogram deadlift. Like, it was clearly... I don't think it's an official record because there weren't, officials around, but basically, like, he put 501 kilograms on a bar and filmed himself lifting it up. And it looked like it was pretty easy for him, so which I think is incredible. I mean, I can do 300 pounds on a good day, so to think that anybody can lift up that much weight, it's just mind-boggling. Eric Winokur says, made it. Hey, Steve and everyone. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Oh, and I did want to mention about box jumps. I see so many people doing box jumps incorrectly, and it's really good to point out that if you are doing box jumps, which I do also want to mention that runners are just awful. They're awful with their vertical leap. They're so terrible. Like, it's not an exaggeration that a lot of long distance runners have a box jump of a maximum vertical leap of sub 1 inch. Like, they can't even get their feet off the ground. Like, that's how unversatile a lot of runners are. You know, you'd think that running, it works out the legs, you gotta have great legs for box jumps. And no, they just can't generate that much power and strength to get themselves off the ground. So it can be, it's a little bit tragic how frail and how fragile a lot of runners are. Pardon me. But with box jumps, one thing that I see a lot of people doing wrong is they'll do these, like, massive sets where they'll do, 10 or 20 box jumps in a row, just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, thinking that it's going to do them any good. And it's like, kind of misses the point of box jumps if you're doing high repetition, low height box jumps. The point of a box jump is to generate as much power as you can. So it's really about getting yourself as high off the ground as you can possibly get. So when I do a box jump, if I'm doing a standing box jump, I probably got a box maybe up to my waist, where I'm trying to jump up to. If I get a running start, I can usually jump up to one that's maybe mid-chest, thereabouts. But I do realize that, like, I'm bringing my legs way up off the ground. Like, I'm bringing my legs way up, not only giving myself a lot of vertical leap. So I think if I jump and just like tapped my hand as high as I could. I maybe have a 2-foot vertical leap. Like it's really not that impressive. Maybe 1.5 feet. I don't know, something like that. But it is one thing I practiced specifically for Spartan racing, which I thought it'd be cool to take a look at some of these Spartan race obstacles. This is just the Spartan.com, yes, race obstacles. Because I think that like being a Spartan athlete, an obstacle course athlete, is like, it's a great example of being a really versatile athlete, where in a Spartan race or in an obstacle course race, unfortunately they're all shut down right now, but I did see that Spartan is opening up some kind of event in mid-June. I think it's just a 5K trail race or something like that. Maybe it's a 5K obstacle course race. But there's lots of running. You know, you got lots of different types of obstacles where you're climbing, you're carrying heavy stuff, you're pushing heavy things, or in this case, you're crawling under barbed wire, which is a pretty self-explanatory obstacle. So it does like test a whole wide range of your fitness, not just aerobic fitness, not just your pure strength, your pure grit. But I think that obstacle course racing, OCR, I'm going to say OCR from now on, is a great way to demonstrate like a really versatile fitness. So I was saying box jumps. I was specifically working on box jumps and my maximum vertical leap because they used to have one obstacle that was an 8-foot wall, which is something that you can't use like the edges. You can't use anything to help you get up it. And I always raced as an elite racer, so I wasn't allowed to use other people to help me get up over this 8-foot wall. And the biggest trouble that I always had was just jumping up high enough to get my hands up on top of this 8-foot wall, because I'm a pretty shrimpy guy. I'm only 5'9". So I really did have to work to, make sure that I was able to get the kind of vertical height required to even grab the top of those 8-foot walls. Let's see, what do we got? Tyrolean Traverse. This is kind of a cool obstacle. The point of this obstacle is basically, let's see. Yeah, it looks like you'd climb up one side over here, and then you would climb horizontally along these ropes. And the really difficult thing about this is that they're not super tight. So for the first half of it, you're kind of like climbing down, and then it flattens out, and then you have to climb back up because the rope is like sagging in the middle. It was incredibly difficult. So there was a lot of different strategies. I always found the Tyrolean Traverse a really fun obstacle. Like, yeah, grab it over, I would always hang underneath the rope. So I'd have like my legs crossed, and then I'd grab it and kind of like drag myself along. And at the end of that, like your forearms would just be burning because, yeah, it's very, very difficult. It would tire your grip strength out so much. Ooh, climb. Twister. This is a very strange obstacle. Let's see if we can get a twister. Is he going to demonstrate it? I don't know if he's going to demonstrate it. Hopefully he does. Oh, there we go. So you see is this twisting bar that you would then have to grab onto the handholds, and they would twist. It was, again, just like an extremely awkward climbing obstacle. This is one of the ones that I would fail like 50% of the time. It's a very, very difficult obstacle. Boom, look at that. Good job, man. Some of these other ones, let's see. Any other interesting obstacles we got? Multi-rig. I watched the video for multi-rig, and the video that they have is very boring. Multi-rig is one of those ones that can be a very exciting obstacle, but the example that they have is just awful. Helix. High hurdles. Oh, these were kind of fun. High hurdles is basically about chest high, maybe 5.5 or so feet off the ground. These horizontal bars of wood. You have to get over them somehow. Is he going to swing a leg over? Yeah, it looks like he's swinging a leg over. The way he's doing it is very common. It's like the way that most people would do it. I have never seen anyone ever do that. But the way that I would handle the hurdles is I would just like grab onto it and just dive straight over and kind of like do a twirly woo, like, you know, ass over tea kettle, flip over the end of it. That's a lot of fun. Carries and lifts, like I said, lots of high strength stuff. Herc hoist, it's basically like a pulley system where you're pulling up, lifting a sandbag off the ground. Atlas carry, one of the more difficult obstacles in my opinion, where you have these spherical concrete balls that weigh 70 or 80 pounds. I think they're a little bit lighter for the women, maybe 50 or 60 pounds. But they are so hard to get a grip underneath that ball and then lift it up, like straight off the ground. This is where having a good deadlift is really good. So you're able to like really generate a lot of strength as you're crouched down like that. Very, very difficult. Bucket brigade, tire flip. This is another one, tire flip. Like you would think that flipping a tire, looks like they've got two people helping each other out on this. Again, I always raced elite, so I wasn't allowed to get outside help whenever I did this. And the tire flip for the women was 250 pounds, and the tire flip for the men is 420 pounds. So this is another time where that deadlift strength really helps. Is this guy going to demonstrate it? Come on, man. Get that tire off the ground. Yeah, look at it. He makes it look easy. Oh my gosh, this guy's jacked. Oh my goodness. So yeah, having that kind of versatility in strength and power is definitely useful. I enjoy it. I guess I could run all the time, but I'm not going to do it. I really like being a lot more of a versatile athlete. Another example of this is the Army Combat Fitness Test, where they've got a lot of different... I'm not going to go through all of these, but it's something interesting that you might look at. Where I looked at a couple of different branches of the U.S. military. I think the Army Combat Fitness Test was the most interesting one. You see, I've got tabs open for Marine and Navy SEAL, and both of them were pretty basic. It was just like run, do push-ups, do pull-ups, nothing super interesting. But with the Army Fitness Test, you see you're doing deadlifts, you're doing standing power throws. Oh, that's right, where you have this giant medicine ball, and you just throw it as far as you can and see how far you can throw it. And it's quite a heavy medicine ball, too. So if you're able to get it like, 5 yards or 5 meters, like that's a pretty incredible distance. Now, lastly, man, we got a little bit of activity going on in the chat, so let's see if I can catch up there. Get rid of you. Let's see. MJC says quite a heavy vest. Yeah, that's a really heavy vest. I also have a 20-pound vest that's a little bit more flush to my chest that I can. It's a little bit more low profile, so I can wear it around. Makes things a little bit easier. Frederic, you got some awesome stats there. It says you can do a super heavy deadlift at 160 pounds and 5'9". Say that having long arms and short legs definitely helps. Oh my goodness, I absolutely know what you're talking about. Yeah, if you're able to deadlift that much, that's pretty incredible, man. You ask about my motivation. Well, I mean, I used to be a pretty competitive athlete. Nowadays, my motivation is to make sure that I'm able to stay healthy while also eating tons and tons of food. And yeah, I just like being like super versatile and being able to do a ton. Eric Cruz asks, how's my quarantine? Super open-ended question. Quarantine is good. Okay. All right, the last thing that I did want to talk about with like power and strength stuff is the other sport that I am absolutely in love with is rock climbing. So if you guys have not seen, heard of this documentary, Free Solo, it's an absolutely incredible example of rock climbing just taken to the limit. Like, nobody should ever do this kind of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. So I think you can find this documentary on like Amazon Video, stuff like that, or you can just go to National Geographic. So it's all about this guy, Alex Honnold, climbing in Yosemite. And Alex Honnold is this very famous free solo climber, which means that he climbs by himself without ropes, which is absolutely insane. Hey, look at that. It's Tommy Caldwell. Another excellent rock climber. I think Tommy Caldwell used to be like the best rock climber in the world. Alex Honnold is not really known for doing like super difficult climbs, but like his plan was to climb El Capitan in Yosemite Park in California, free solo being the first guy to do it. And El Cap is the tallest, the largest piece of granite in the world. So this is absolutely insane. So this is a pretty cool look at, you know, this amazing rock climber just doing incredible stuff. And Yosemite Park, like the best place in the world to go rock climbing, might be one of the best places in the world. I don't know. France has a ton of awesome rock climbing too. Lots of great places. But Yosemite Park is, it might be where like rock climbing in America got started. So it's a pretty iconic place. So I absolutely love rock climbing. I absolutely love going to the climbing gym. I absolutely love going out in the wilderness. I've been doing it for about as long as I can remember. I've been doing it for almost, maybe 25 years, give or take, on and off. But rock climbing is a great combination for obstacle course racing, great way to train for those things, because rock climbing is mainly about your grip strength. And you see, like, these guys just have giant meaty hands and huge forearms. So, you know, I've got decently big forearms from all the grip strength stuff that I do. But these guys are just absolutely incredible. I love rock climbing. I love it a ton. And it is all about, like, making sure that you got a lot of power, a lot of strength. You're able to hang on to something and you're able to pull up with your body weight. Yeah, ton of fun. So I love it. I think that's mainly where my motivation comes to like remain a good, resilient, and versatile athlete, is because I like running and I like rock climbing. And running takes a lot of aerobic fitness. Rock climbing takes a lot of strength and a lot of power. All right, Frederic, one last comment. You say being an endurance athlete but looking too skinny versus the powerlifter who is medically obese or on gear and can't climb stairs without gasping for air. Yeah, I think if you take it to the extreme on any one of those, like, it's definitely not going to be super healthy. Again, like, that's why I like versatility, like spreading myself out a little bit so that I'm not super great at anything, which I've been there. I've tried that. It's really awful. It just puts your body through the ringer. It's no fun. Whereas being like pretty good at everything, not taking to the extreme with anything, is a great way to just be healthy and be a good, well-rounded athlete. Live a decent, healthy life and still have a lot of fun doing it. So that's why I do that kind of stuff. All right, guys, I hope folks out there found this interesting. I can talk more about like the different aspects of, I don't know, fitness and nutrition, if that's what folks want to talk about. You guys can drop me an email. Email is in the box below if you have any suggestions of stuff to talk about in the future. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble about whatever topic hits my brain at 11 a.m. every day. So until next time, until next week, it's Friday, end of the week. going into this weekend, which means almost nothing because everything's locked down. I've been at home, so I get to spend the weekend at home, like always. All right, guys. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Peace out.